Hello there folks, welcome back to ESC Adam, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the possibility of which country may join Eurovision for its 70th anniversary in Vienna next year. Before we get into it, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to us as well, we've got more content coming during the off season, and then of course into Eurovision 2026 when it ramps up next year. So the reason why we're discussing this, that next year is going to be the 70th edition of the contest, an anniversary year, and in the past few major anniversaries, there's always been sort of a thing of new countries joining, not necessarily by design, but it has been a thing. For example, the 50th contest that took place in 2005, you had Bulgaria and Moldova join. You could argue that was more to do with the fact that semi-finals were introduced and, you know, the old relegation system was gone and more countries just wanted to join as opposed to it being like a special invitation. But then in 2015, when the last contest was held in Vienna, it was the 60th anniversary and a particular country was invited to take part, and that country was Australia. Now, why was that the case? Australia is an associate member of the European Broadcasting Union, the EBU. They've been broadcasting Eurovision for more than 3 decades at that point. It has a big fan base there, so a special invitation was sent and they have taken part every year ever since. So with the 70th anniversary coming up in Vienna, there's a lot of talk that could something similar happen. So what we're going to do is take a look at a few different countries and nations that will they potentially join, or is it a bit of a pipe dream? One of them I keep seeing a lot of Brits say is we need to divide up the United Kingdom and send the home nations individually. So that'd be England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Now in this, my biggest advocate would be for Wales. I'm half Welsh myself and it is the land of the song. We have some great talent from Wales and the art of singing and songwriting. There's a lot of history there and I really think we could make a big impact. However, this isn't likely to happen anytime soon. Now, some people might say, but Wales have competed in Eurovision. It was the junior Eurovision they competed in back in 2018 and 2019. So if it's possible for them to do it there, why not for the main contest? I might do a proper video about it, but the simple reason is down to rights, basically. The BBC has the rights to represent the United Kingdom at Eurovision. Represent the United Kingdom, all nations together. You can't have the United Kingdom and then Wales separately, because technically Wales is within the United Kingdom, which the BBC holds the rights for. If the BBC was to relinquish the rights to broadcast on the United Kingdom as a whole, then you could have a situation where other broadcasters in the UK may rally together to represent a certain home nation. Like S4C, for example, could represent Wales. But the BBC, for one, have renewed their deal until I think it's like 2028, and it's just not likely to happen anytime soon. Certainly for the main contest. As much as I'd love to see Wales and get a bit of, you know, heritage pride in there, I don't think it's likely, unfortunately. A Welsh artist could represent the UK though, that's happened a few times. Maybe we need to send another Welshie into the mix. Another country that's long talked about and is often memed about is the United States. Sort of like Australia, the United States is not in Europe and people use that as a stick to bash them with. It really more depends on if you're in the European broadcasting area and also your EBU member status. The United States is an associate member of the EBU, just as Australia is, and they have several different broadcasters that are associate members. Any of them could potentially pick up the mantle if they got a special invitation to take part. The US has also been broadcasting Eurovision for a long time, like Australia, so with those factors in mind and the fact that, you know, a lot of the culture mixes with some of the Western European countries in there, why not bring the US into the fold? I just don't think there's much interest in the US for them to do that. They did try a few years ago, the American Song Contest, wasn't it? That I think only lasted for 1 edition. But I think whilst they're happy to broadcast it, I think the desire to actually take part is very minimal. Although very interestingly, they are reportedly going to take part in the Intervision Song Contest, which is being organised and held in Russia. This is another video in itself entirely, but essentially Russia is doing its own Eurovision. God knows why, and among the reported list of participants is the United States, which would be quite the shock, to be honest with you. And I think if that did come to fruition, its chances of being invited to Eurovision may be a little bit slimmer. Another nation I think we should talk about is Kazakhstan. Now, this country has probably been the most prolific in terms of people suggesting that this might happen, and there's a few reasons for that. For one, similar to Wales, Kazakhstan has taken part in Eurovision before, albeit the junior edition. It took part for a few years, so it has some history in actually being a part of the Eurovision scene, as you will. And also, in July this year, the chairman of the board of directors of the Kabar agency stated that at the EBU General Assembly that happened in July, he proposed that the EBU Director General, Noel Curran, invite Kazakhstan to the contest, and that Curran had assured him that the issue would be discussed at the next EBU meeting. This is quite a big step, having the head of the Kazakhstan, this agency, basically have direct talks with the big boss of the EBU about an invitation, and it even being considered. And considering that for the last major anniversary, the 60th, Australia, an associate member, just like Kazakhstan is, were invited to take part, then what's to stop them doing that for them for the 70th? There's a few factors in this, similar to, well, reportedly the United States. Kazakhstan is due to take part in the Intervision Song Contest. And I think it's all but confirmed, because if you go on the Intervision website, the profile is already there. They're going to be represented by Yanar Sadirbayev. I've probably pronounced that wrong, apologies, who apparently is quite the big deal over there. You know, he was a finalist in The Voice over there. He's received awards at international competitions in places like Germany, Czechia, Russia, Belarus. He sings all kinds of different styles, so he seems like quite an accomplished artist. But again, with everything going on with Russia at the minute in the wider world, the EBU is very much trying to keep their distance away from that. And I think the fact that Kazakhstan are taking part might put a little blemish, but then again, Serbia are also taking part, and they've been able to compete in Eurovision no problem. I think there's also people talking about how much is Kazakhstan under the Russian sphere of influence, and if we admit them to Eurovision as well next year, are we basically giving Russia a gateway in via Kazakhstan to spread that influence? You could argue that till the cows come home, but I think out of the three countries we've mentioned so far, Kazakhstan may have the most realistic chance of the three of getting an invitation. The fact alone that the EBU Director General is aware of this, and apparently it's being considered. And I think just as a draw from like a business and marketing perspective, for such a big anniversary like the 70th, what better way to try and push that than, hey, we've got a brand new country taking part. Of course, there's all the list of the countries who have competed in Eurovision before and just haven't done so for the last few years. Like, obviously, it'd be great to see Moldova back, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, Hungary, all of those countries that for one reason or another have dipped out. To see some of them back in would be great. But I think the push of a brand new entrant, a brand newcomer to Eurovision is always going to do well. It did really well for Australia and has done them in good stead. And even, unlike then, we're not even saying they have to take part every year, even if it's just a one-off. And I think Kazakhstan may have some sort of chance at this. I don't think at the moment, at the time of recording this, I don't think it's the biggest chance in the world. But the fact it's going to be considered at the next General Assembly that the EBU are having, I think that says something in itself. The other option as well about debuting countries that people have raised is just go through the associate members list of the EBU and pick one. You've got countries like Brazil, like Canada, China, places like Japan as well, you know, big countries, New Zealand, South Korea, a lot of nations with a lot of different musical talent that could have their chance to shine on the Eurovision stage. And it's not just the associate members, there are also full members of the EBU that in theory get the invitation to participate that just don't. You have countries, for example, like Algeria, who are full members of the EBU. There's Egypt as well, Jordan, and amongst some of the others in those Middle Eastern countries. Now, some of them in the past have not taken part for various political reasons. For example, due to the participation of Israel, there are certain Middle East countries that don't take part, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. And even if Israel don't take part in 2026, because there's some discussion that that might not happen, again, something for the next General Assembly, but if they're not allowed to take part, I don't see these Middle Eastern countries rushing to fill that gap. I'd be very surprised if that happened. But overall, with it being the 70th anniversary, at the time of recording this, near the end of August 2025, we have 20 countries that have listed their intention to participate. Now, we had 37 nations at the last Eurovision in Basel. It'd be great if we can hit that number again. If we get 36 or lower, then we have officially reached the lowest amount of participants since 2004, when it first hit 36 as semi-finals were introduced. I'm always a great believer of the more countries in Eurovision, the better. Yes, it extends the runtime, but I think in terms of like the songs we get and the culture that gets put on display, the more countries that get the chance to do that just benefits the contest as a whole. There's obviously various factors in including a new country. As I've mentioned, Wales can't for like the rights reasons. The United States, I just don't think the interest is there. Kazakhstan might if it gets approved by the EBU, but it could be another country entirely. But I do think in this discussion of who's next to join Eurovision, I do think it's within the EBU's interest to bag a new country, particularly as it's the 70th anniversary of the contest, or the 70th edition. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Which country do you think is most likely to come aboard in Vienna in 2026? Is it any of the ones I've mentioned today, or is there a particular outlier? And, you know, I'm going to get a comment about Vatican City. As much as I want to see Pope Leo hit that stage, I don't think it's going to happen. Thank you very much for watching this video. Leave a like on it if you enjoyed it. Let me know your comments down below. Subscribe as well to ESC Adam for more videos coming in the future. In the meantime, I've been Adam from ESC Adam, and I'll see you in the next one.